Israeli sabotage takes new turn. Referring to such moves, Iran's top negotiator Ali Bagheri Khani told Al Jazeera correspondent in Vienna, there are external actors, the Zionist regime, making efforts to disrupt the talks. Bagheri Khani also told Al Jazeera that Israel won't even dream of attacking Iran because it would cease to exist, referring to a report published by Associated Press on December 2. In that report, an Israeli official, speaking on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to comment publicly, said that Israel still considers a military strike against Iran to be a viable option and is preparing for all scenarios. In a video interview with Ynet on Thursday, Defense Minister Benny Gantz expressed confidence that U.S. President Joe Biden will keep his vow not to allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons. I think that the United States, as a world leader, will honor its promises and accept its responsibilities. I don't believe we are alone, he stated. I believe we should constantly be prepared for the possibility of finding ourselves alone. I reiterate that a strike, on Iran, is an option. It is not required to be the first one. He stated that if no progress is made on the matter, the world, the region, and the state of Israel will have no choice but to act, and it might happen. In another act of sabotage, Mossad chief David Barnea claimed on Thursday that the agency will take whatever steps are necessary to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Iran will not obtain nuclear weapons, not in the near future, and not ever. That is my promise, and it is Mossad's vow as well. He made the remarks while attending a ceremony recognizing exemplary agents alongside Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and President Isaac Herzog. His remarks came as Iran and major powers attempted to resurrect a 2015 deal in Vienna that would have curtailed Tehran's nuclear program in exchange for respite from US and EU economic sanctions. Responding to the provocative moves made by the Israelis, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Saeed Khatibzadeh tweeted on Thursday that the delegation present in Vienna will not receive instructions from Tel Aviv. As Vienna talks advances, Israeli regime shows its true color again, calling for immediate halt of negotiations. Not surprising. Dialogue is always despised by the regime whose genesis is based on war, tension and terror. Delegates in Vienna won't take instruction from Beit Agian. Sabotage at Iran's Natanz nuclear facility 3.0. Was Iran's Natanz nuclear facility just attacked for the third time in 2 years? Did Israel's Mossad or someone just try to sabotage Iran's nuclear facilities at Natanz for the third time since July 2020? Reports were still hazy, but as of Saturday night the narratives varied from, Iran undertook a pre-planned air defense drill unrelated to sabotage, it shot down an attack drone thwarting a sabotage attempt, electricity and internet were down for some unspecified part of Natanz, which could mean a sabotage attempt succeeded, but the Islamic Republic is still trying to cover it up. Natanz was hit by physical explosive sabotage in July 2020 and again in April of this past year. The July 2020 attack was more successful and destroyed the vast majority of an above-ground nuclear site. An April attack destroyed centrifuges and a variety of utilities of a newer underground site, but only fully delayed Iran's advanced centrifuge progress for about 4 months, while causing some longer-term slowdowns. Curiously, the April attack took place near the start of Vienna nuclear negotiations. If this event was an attack, it will have taken place at the end of a new first week of nuclear negotiations. Both in July 2020 and this April, Iran initially tried to deny there was an attack or deny its success until the Jerusalem Post reported that the attacks were successful and had caused severe damage. Following the Post's and other media reports, Tehran was forced to acknowledge that its nuclear sites had been hit, and badly. It later accused the Mossad of both hits, so Tehran's initial denials should be taken with a grain of salt. Another nuclear site, Karaj, was hit this past June, days after Ebrahim Raisi was elected Iran's new president. This could be a second message to Raisi that his attempt to push the envelope with increasing nuclear violations as well as taking maximalist positions in Vienna could leave him vulnerable, even if much of the West is intimidated by him. Satellite footage made it impossible for Tehran to cover up the damage in both Natanz attacks, but strangely satellite footage was slower in coming with carriage, when Raisi had taken power and the Biden administration was seeking a return to talks. It will be interesting to see what satellite footage shows this time. "51% of Israelis would support attack on Iran's nuclear facilities without U.S. support," shows poll. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett indicated on November 23 that his country would not be obligated if a new nuclear deal between Tehran and world powers was reached at the Vienna talks, describing Iran as being at the most advanced stage of its nuclear program. Slightly more than half of Israelis, 51%, believe that their country would not need the backing of the United States to carry out a strike on Iran, according to a new survey. 58% of Jewish Israelis stated there would be no need to wait for Washington to greenlight such moves as opposed to 31% urging such approval, revealed an Israel Democracy Institute report published Wednesday. Around 82% of Arab Israelis would want the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden to sign off on such a strike. 31% of those polled were against such unilateral actions, showed the Israeli Voice Index survey for November 2021, published by IDI's Viterbi Family Center for Public Opinion and Policy Research. The IDI poll was conducted online and by telephone among 614 Jewish respondents and 150 Arabs between November 29 and December 1. Iran nuclear deal. The survey comes as senior Israeli officials have repeatedly warned they are prepared to go it alone to protect themselves against Iran amid claims by Tel Aviv that Tehran seeks to obtain nuclear weapons. The Islamic Republic has consistently denied the claims. In his speech to the United Nations General Assembly in September, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett declared that Iran's nuclear program has hit a watershed moment, and so has our tolerance. Words do not stop centrifuges from spinning. We will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. The Israeli Prime Minister, who took over from longtime PM Benjamin Netanyahu in June, earlier indicated that his country will maintain its freedom of action if a new nuclear deal between Tehran and world powers was reached at the Vienna talks. In any event, even if there is a return to a deal, Israel is of course not a party to the deal and Israel is not obligated by the deal, Bennett added, describing Iran as being at the most advanced stage of its nuclear program. Washington will resume the indirect nuclear talks with Iran in Vienna, State Department spokesman Ned Price confirmed on Wednesday, after little progress was made in discussions last week. He added that restoring the deal is still a viable option. Top European diplomat Enrique Mora also confirmed that the negotiations would continue after the seventh round of talks was halted on December 3.